Hello, this is the Des Moines Central Railway yard at Highland, the new Highland yard. It's a 10-track yard, and that's where we do all of our switching, building up our switch runs and the locals. And back here in the back where we have staging, I guess. 4 transfer tracks here, 4 of the 5. And the far one is the Chicago Great Western, then the Rock Island, the Fort Dodge Des Moines and Southern, and the CNNW. That's our 4 interchanges, and that's, I guess you could call it staging, because those cars enter the layout right there. They're brought down and switched out here in the yard. They get switched to, there's several tracks for each track has a destination for a certain area of the railroad for certain industries. When you walk in, this is what you see. The room is 10 by 32. Over here we have Firestone. That's number 1 track. It was along Hoffman Road in Des Moines. And then over here is number 2 track, and that only held 1 car. And then part of the manufacturing plant is represented there. Then we get to the new warehouse area, and there's the new warehouse. It holds 4 cars for tire loading. And then there's 2 storage tracks. And then there are 3 raw material tracks. There's a track for box cars, and a track for oil and other liquid chemicals, and then a track for carbon black, and 1 oil car. So that sits on top of the Helix. That should be it. Now we'll focus our attention on the big spinner and how we get cars to these different industries. Well, this is my big spinner, and that's, as you can see, for box cars. It's all the industries on the layout that take box cars. And then we have empty box cars. I have a spinner for that. And those are all the industries on the railroad that would take empty box cars. Also, I got a spinner for gondolas, oil tanks, covered hoppers, and that's for my transfers, the interchange tracks, what railroad empty cars or loaded cars that would come back to the yard. That's how I spin them to tell what railroad they go to. And then flat cars, chemical tanks, open top hoppers, reefer and plug doors, and then propane tanks. So those are all the spinners that I have to distribute the type of cars to the industries on the layout. Well, let's see how this thing works. This is a list of the Fort Dodge transfer Fort Dodge Des Moines line transfer. So these are the cars that are presently on the transfer, and I make a list when I set up the transfer. I make a list and I write it down as to what the car is: LPG, oil tank, B for a box, and then I spin it to see where it goes to, depending on what type of car it is. Now, LPG, there's the spinner for that, and so I spun that LPG, and it's going to go to Macmillan propane, and I do the same with an oil tank. I've got one that we got to go to the fuel track. Need some fuel for our engines. C17, that is the industry number for Firestone tire and rubber, and so I don't do that. It just automatically goes to 3, and anybody that's running a crew, they just need to worry about what track it goes to in the yard. And so I start with the top of the list is the rear car. Go up here and take a look at the rear car. Is a tire loading car, and then there's an LPG and an oil tank, another tire loading car for Firestone, another oil tank, and that's a city service, that's for Firestone. All 40-foot tank cars on my layout are Firestone cars. They're just assigned to Firestone. And then Southern Railway is a box car that goes to, that's assigned for Firestone service. And then of course the carbon black, that automatically goes there at the Firestone. Everything goes to 3-track for Firestone when you pull the transfer. And then the Norfolk and Southern, and so we'll go back here and take a look at the list. So we have that LPG for Macmillan, that oil tank for tank car gas, and then the Norfolk Southern box that goes to the grain elevator in Granger. Granger is station 18. It'll go to door number 2 at the feed and seed storage. So that's kind of how that works. So we'll move on. Okay, once I pull the transfer track, bring it down, and I switch it out into the yard, different yard tracks, and then I do what we termed on the BN was pickling. Don't know where the term came from, what it really stands for, but basically what it is the yard master lets somebody know, used to be the clerks, but where he put each car out of a switch list. And so that's what I've done. I've pulled so far 3 transfers: the Great Western, the Rock Island, and the CNW. And these cars just happen to be going to 5 from those 3 interchanges. And of course, as they get entered into the track, I write them down in the order that they're sitting on the track. The number 1 is the farthest, so when you pull the track out, your first car that you would handle would be Martin's, that MICX 505, and that's a chemical tank. But anyway, so then when you're all finished and ready to do the job, for 5-track, which is delivering cars. These industries are between Northeast 14th and Firestone, and not including Firestone. Then you put these cars in, I guess, station order, and so that's how we get the cars to the different industries. One other thing that I forgot to mention before, I use the spinner for the transfers, basically for tank cars and non-direct connecting roads. You know, all the CNNW cars, like the Omaha Road, CNNW, Emmons St. L, those would all go back to the CNNW when they're leaving the railroad here. The same with the Rock Island. The Fort Dodge, I use the Fort Dodge to transfer cars of the CB&Q, the Wabash, Norfolk Southern, any of those southern type roads, and also the CRIP, Rock Island can also do that. Great Western cars, they all go back to the Great Western transfer. Milwaukee, there you got the Sioux Line, any Canadian roads, Canadian Pacific, Canadian National, those would all go back onto the Milwaukee Road automatically. Tank cars and stuff like that would get spun, and that tells me where to put them for the transfer. So I hope this helps. Thank you for watching, and if you have questions, please leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer any questions that I can. So thanks again for watching, and be safe out there.